yesterday, this is it. The last episode of the Lead podcast.
Yes, as in the last episode of
The
the Lead
very
podcast.
last episode that we will do together or that we will do in general.
As for the Lead podcast is concerned. Yes. Yes, I think we are at a point that we go separate ways. I have a new role. You have a new challenge.
Yeah.
And I think the best conclusion is stop at the best moment that you can stop on. And that is now. So it's a sad moment.
Yeah. We've done this for more than a year, 1.5 years now almost. And it was longer in the works. And we've discussed engineering culture and everything related to that, and I worked at customers together on a lot of these different topics. So that's where also the Lead podcast was born. But now, we go separate ways. We'll no longer be colleagues, so it was just harder to do, and it was a tough decision on stopping this.
You
right?
make it sound simple, and for me it also triggered this model, the rooms of change. So maybe we can spend a little bit of time in this last episode to talk a little bit about that, and then call it a day.
Yes, let's do it.
Welcome to the Lead Podcast.
The Lead Podcast, a podcast for leaders in engineering, architecture, and development.
So these rooms of change, I've heard about the model, but maybe you can explain it.
Yeah. So we do for customers a number of these organizational change projects, and in that sense, I read a lot about change management, and there are different models. And I think we mentioned ADKAR model before in earlier episodes of the podcast, awareness and the desire. But this model is from a Swedish psychologist, Dr. Klaas Janssen, and he has this model. This is a little bit similar to the model of mourning. When you lose someone that dies,
different
phases that you go through when dealing with change or loss.
Yeah.
And he describes this as 4 rooms of a house that you actually go through. And the first room, and if you draw this in a nice quadrant, of course, with these 4 squares, you go on the left top, that is the quadrant or the room of contentment. And when I was thinking about our decision-making process on how are we going to proceed with this Lead podcast thing, we actually went to this process, and we see this a lot on a personal basis, in a team basis, and an organizational base. And this first quadrant or room is the room of contentment.
Yeah, we were just happy on our sunny room, looking, everything was fine.
Sitting on the terrace with a nice beer.
Everything was fine, and even though several things would change, we're no longer be colleagues, but we could still do this Lead podcast
because it went fine. We had nice guests, we had nice topics. We every week or every 2 weeks we actually managed to publish a new episode. We never lost that streak, so we were very happy. But actually, some of these things were already happening a little bit in the beginning of the year. We said, well, maybe we should add some more music or maybe some leaders or a different format. So we were happy, but there were a number of things a little bit in the bottom. It was a little bit boiling, like there's something brewing here.
Yeah.
So that is the first room of contentment. Everything is fine, and then at a certain point in time, something happens. And in this case, you said, well, I have this new challenge and I cannot actually, let it go. So we need to figure out a new way of doing, because we are not going to be together as much as we are right now, because we stop being colleagues.
Yeah, so planning will be harder if we do this podcast. Maybe we can just come together on fixed dates and do. We need to arrange something, because it will be a lot harder. That was the initial idea, right?
And the first the room that you dropped to right now, so you're on the left bottom side of that quadrant that we drew, is the room of denial.
Yeah.
Where we say, wow, sure, but that is not actually influencing our podcast. We are just going to proceed as usual. Maybe a little bit logistic challenges, but we can certainly manage that.
Yeah.
And thinking a bit more, well, it became but maybe sometimes you are not in the countries. We maybe you need to do it online.
We'll both be busy.
We'll be busy. Different topics. Maybe we are even on topics that we do not really want to discuss with each other because of other reasons.
Yeah.
So then you drop a little bit to the room of despair. Oh, that is like an extension of the room of denial. Like we do not really see light, but you cannot still really embrace it. And we see that in a lot in organization as well, right? Organizations do their thing, they are happy, and then at a certain point in time, something happens. I don't know, they lose money, or they are getting attacked by a cyber attack. And then the first reaction is not, oh, let's go and fix it, but it's denial. This is not happening to us.
Yeah. But then when you can no longer deny it anymore, then you first fall into the room of despair because, we don't know what to do now.
Paralyzed, yes. Yeah. Don't know what to do now. And then, well, it always takes a little bit of time and maybe some external help. And then you move on to the next room. You go to the right bottom of the quadrant in the room of confusion. That is actually, well, you actually know that you need to change something. You need to maybe pull the plug or drastically change something, but you don't know what, and you don't know how, and you don't know why, and it's really a little bit blurry.
Yeah, we were there for a while. With
we were there
for what are we going to do?
Yes.
Should we record a couple of episodes?
Yes, maybe have a little bit of a stockpile of episodes that we can extend our period a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So we tried a number of alternatives in our minds, and with colleagues, and we discussed it. Like, what do you think? But it was a lot of confusion. And then finally, well, there is always this moment, and then you move up again in the quadrant to the right top quadrant, and that is the room of renewal. Well, the name says it all, right? The room of renewal is the room where you actually accepted the change. You are no longer in denial, you're no longer in confusion, and it's quite clear what you need to do. You need to make a decision, or you already made the decision. And in this case, we said, the best decision is to just call it quits.
Yeah. Although sometimes it still feels like the room of denial. I think this is the best solution for now. We went through these with our other changes in our careers as well. You always go through these different models, and for my new challenge, I'm really in the renewal and contentment phase. Maybe again of a clear vision of where I want to go, and this is something that is on the side that you would like to have, but you can't do both. So
not in this shape and form. For me, it's exactly the same. Like I really liked making this podcast, and I still do. I really like grasping a topic, diving into it, reading about it, doing some research, and then have just a discussion with you on any topic. And we discussed so many different things, and we always managed to have a very nice, insightful discussion. And I always got out of the room and thought, well, I learned something new today.
Yeah, but the thing is, podcasts, the work that was in this podcast was more than just the recording that we did together or the brainstorming that we did together. It's also when you're at the coffee machine, it's like, I heard this at this customer. Maybe that's a good topic. And a lot of the conversation that we had over customer work or any other things, because we were colleagues, that was very easy to do. And if you all have to set all that up, that just does not make sense. And we want to have a certain quality within our podcast, and we both decided if we're separated, this will be harder to do. It will be the quality of the podcast would go down. So maybe just call it a quits. And our phase of renewal, I think both of us still love the whole notion of change management and making organizations better with their engineering culture, etc. but we will both do that in our own way.
Exactly.
Maybe new things will happen. Maybe new podcasts will arise. Maybe new talks at conferences that we both do and love. We will do other stuff with the community, with people who like to receive this kind of content, but any way or form, that's something that only the future knows.
Yes. So that's it.
Yeah,
And
maybe we should, when ending this, look a bit back, thank everyone.
yes.
We grew the amount of users after every episode. We saw more people following us, which also gave us a really good feeling of really want to continue this. Also had a really lot of guests on the show. I'm very thankful for that, for all their help in making really great episodes. So hereby I also would like to thank
Yeah, all
them
the
very much.
listeners, all the guests, and yeah, I would also like to thank you, Geert, for
Yeah,
all
well,
the
same to you.
great conversations, not only in this recording studio, but also outside, and your years of great conversation, but also your years of friendship. I'm going to miss you really, really much. And
Yeah,
well,
same.
I hope that we can find some platform once where we can continue our great work together. So thank you, and
Yeah,
all the best of luck.
same to you. And that is it for Lead Podcast. This was the very, very ending of it.
Yes. So if you want to mention something, if you want to give some feedback, also on this episode, but also, of course, on the previous episodes where we actually talked about real content, please drop us a note on LinkedIn. That is the easiest ways to get in touch. And for now, thank you very much for listening. And I hope that we will see some comments and reactions. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.